Hey, guys, this episode is brought to you by TeePublic. You guys know TeePublic. I've been with TeePublic forever, since the Schmodown days, since the big thing launched. If you have a Sith Council shirt, if you have any of our shirts, you got them from TeePublic. From over the years, we've been working with TeePublic. When I went out on my own, they were one of the first calls that I made. So not only can you get all of the branded merch from this show, t-shirts, stickers, phone cases, mugs, all that, when you are on the site, do a search. You're going to discover something that you like, especially in this space, man. An artist uploads new work to the TeePublic marketplace every 5 seconds. Because of the thousands of global artists that populate the marketplace, you're going to find designs you won't find at a big box store, especially if your interests are super niche. Doesn't matter what you're into, you can find it on TeePublic. You want a graphic tee of a cat riding a unicorn? Check. A t-shirt with your favorite movie quote? Got it. You want merch for the big thing? Hey, that's what you want, obviously. I've been using TeePublic forever. If you guys know me from back in the day, I've been talking about them that long. So it was obvious that I was going to be using them again, and I'm so glad that I did. So many of you guys, when I see you at some of the events, you're wearing the big thing shirts, and it all comes from TeePublic. And browse around on my link. It's going to be in the iCard right there. It's going to be in the description right there. Browse around. You will find stuff that you like. So I'm happy that they're on the show. They're sponsoring the show now. TeePublic, everybody. Check them out. Oh, yeah. That's right. You clicked on it because you saw familiar faces in the thumbnail, not because of my stupid ass. I know. I understand. It's Capes and Cowls, baby. We're back. And why are we back? Well, we're back for a lot of different reasons, but there is some movement in the Writers Guild negotiations, man. As far as, well, look, when this show comes out, there might even be more news. But as far as this taping goes, seems to be some hopeful news with the Writers Guild coming to some terms. And maybe this strike is coming to an end. We'll talk about that. Deadpool 3, as you saw in the title of this video. A lot that Sean Levy's been talking about, director has talked about, some stuff that we've talked about in general on this show, with the fact that it's going to incorporate the Fox universe, but not only for like a gimmick. It's going to be relevant to the overall multiverse of it all, and there's going to be a lot of stuff it's not green screen. It's a lot of real locations. So we'll talk about all that and more. Budgets for movies, they've been going up, skyrocketing. So people were curious when look, the Marvels is a movie that's coming out. It seems to be a lower budget. That's great. Mike and I talked about that the other day. Well, hold on, not so fast. It seems like maybe that budget is bigger than expected, or maybe not. We'll talk about that. We haven't talked about Aquaman. We haven't talked about anything. We haven't talked about tons of stuff because my gentlemen have not been here. Well, they're here today. That's right. Winston and Coy are back on the show, everybody. So make sure that you watch, comment, all that and more. If you haven't already done it, we're at 93,000. When the guys left, we were at 4,000. Now we're at 93,000 without them, showing them that I didn't need them at all. So we are close to 100, though. Maybe because they're back, you'll get us to 100. So hit that button. Make sure that you do it. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found. It's Capes and Cowls, baby. It's a big thing. Let's do it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Capes and Cowls. Hoy, Jandro. Winston, hey, Marshall.
Winston, two legs.
That's how
What's up?
He's got his two legs back. Look at it. Let's do that wide. Look at it. How's that been for you?
That's chill, man. We don't really have Zoom, otherwise I'd show you all the scar. I'm good, man. I'm still in PT, so like we're not at 100, but I'm walking around and I'm driving. Like
driving.
He walked into my birthday.
I walked
First
right
time
in.
I saw him mobile.
I just realized you hadn't seen me walk
No,
yet.
it was a moment.
Holy,
It was a gift.
It was nice.
Yeah,
It was a real cool thing to see him
it's
just
a
like
real-
walk in the front door.
Well, it's a real cool thing to see you guys. It's
good to be here,
It's
man.
good to
Feels
have
good.
you. Yeah, it's good to have you in studio. We talked about it, and we kind of, as we said on the top of this intro too, it looks like the writers are coming to some kind of a deal. Maybe the thing that was, like I said again, beginning by the time we release this, we might have more news. We don't know, but as of Wednesday, they went into the room, and something, Winston, that we haven't heard a lot of is that both parties were happy That hasn't happened yet. The first time it was like the studio's like, oh yeah, we're happy. We gave them a great deal. Don't you love that deal? And they're like, no, this deal sucks.
So disrespectful.
It sucks. And now this is what I said on yesterday's show with Brett, and I want to see what you guys both think with this. Because Brett was like, I don't know, maybe the writers are caving. I said, no chance.
No.
I said, this is the studio going, hey guys, you know that report that came out that essentially said that had we just right off the top done this deal, would cost us like 60-something million, but now we've lost close to, more than $500 million.
Yeah.
Maybe we should stop hemorrhaging money and let's just give them that 60.
It's that weird thing that happens, and I feel like I've learned the hard way, having been in a relationship for a long time, where you think, you know what? I'm going to wait you out. You eventually gonna realize that you done effed up. And that's when you slowly realize that no, she's always right. And that maybe you're a little off base here. And so then you kind of come hat in hand, and you're just
I think
like,
a conversation's always worth having. I
you
think
know
a
what I mean?
dialogue.
Baby, I can't say the T word on here, can I?
You haven't been gone that long. Man. You still know the rules.
It's been a while. I just don't know if that's a swear.
If the rules have changed or not.
I just don't know if that's a swear.
I don't know what you're
What
talking
T
about.
word?
I was like, hey girl, I miss them titties.
Oh, that word.
So you're gonna say it anyways.
Now we'll know.
I couldn't know.
No, wait,
do you know how many times I had to mute Mike Kalinowski on Wednesday?
just space whale talk. He gets real upset, that guy, about space whales.
He likes the space whales.
Oh,
now.
they've grown on him.
No, his new rant was earmuffs on about Hera's earmuffs. He was screaming about them. It was hilarious. And like watch. But anyway, it's another thing. But are we hopeful?
Because of the lack of context, I'm hopeful. Because it didn't seem like it was an optics game. It didn't seem like a PR move.
Right.
The fact that we only heard, we'll both acknowledge we met
And
is
they went
the
back- and they
most
went back
hopeful. And they're
into the
right
room
back in the room.
again. Right.
If either one side had said like a statement beyond that, then I wouldn't believe it was real. Because
Right.
then it would feel like one side was trying to show strength or weakness or whatever. But I honestly think the lack of PR spin makes me feel like I have confidence for the first time since the strike.
It's the only thing that I am hesitant about is because what has been used throughout both of these strikes has been the studio, since most of them own the publications,
Deadline being like, blah, blah, blah.
keep trying to leak stuff. It's not good for them to straight up just be like, we're almost done. I think it's better to be like, the negotiations are moving. So until we...
But that's what they've been saying.
They have.
Yeah.
I'm saying until we start hearing the WJ straight up be like, yo, guys, this is it. I think we still need to just be reticent because they've been using the media to try and manipulate this from the start.
There's
know?
also the Twitterification of everything where it's like, unless it's on fire, it's not real. So it's like Twitter reads like things are going well and they're like, it's over, just because like that will get it moving. And I think that's the problem with the optics of anything is unless something's at an 11, people ignore it. Like I think a good movie now is harder to make than a great movie because if it's just good, no one watches it.
But that's why I agree with what you said just now, Coy, the fact that like if it was just that meeting and then the trades going, well, apparently it went great. It went great. I'm like, what are the writers saying?
Yeah.
But if both sides are going, we're hopeful, and then the fact that they go, we're going back again to talk, and like I said, by the time this comes out, you might have more information than we do right now as we're talking about it. It might be good, it might be bad. But I was initially saying, even a couple of days ago, that we're looking at January. If this is as hopeful as we hope it to be,
it's still one. What though? I will say this: I always thought that it would have been more important for the WJ to get their deal first, not just because they've been striking longer, but I think you're dealing with, while in my opinion, a more like sound has their stuff together union, a smaller one, obviously, because dealing with all those actors. I think also from the standpoint of like, there is an easier path if the studios wanted to go full Emperor to try and force AI in a situation for the writing than it is to immediately jump to the image capture of the actors. It would take some time and all that kind of stuff to do that. So I always thought it'd be better for them to get their deal first. The big question is that once this is done, do the studios immediately move into trying to fix things with SAG, or do they?
We still can't film. So I feel like it's still hemorrhaging money.
I feel that they feel it's going to be easier for them to come to a deal with SAG than it is the writers because, as you said, first of all, it's been going on longer. Second, they know that SAG's in solidarity with the writers, that they're pretty much saying, figure them out first. And let's then get to the table, because because also SAG's also going to use that and say, okay, well, we know that you gave them this, and this. That's what we're asking for, and we're also asking for this. And they need the actors. They've even said it, like, and this is not saying anything against the writers, obviously, but they need the actors in their mind more so than they need the writers. That's I don't think that's for right now to promote. That's what they need.
Oscar season is here.
That's what I mean. So they need them, like, that piece in order to. I should rephrase that as in order to resume business.
Yeah.
They need the actors, because they did. But when the writer's strike was still going on, business was still moving because they were using the actors and everything.
Has anything done well box office wise? Because Oppenheimer and Barbie, but that was at the very beginning of the SAG strike, so they had time to promote.
They have, because
I don't think anything's done well without promotion.
No, they have. But there have been smaller budget movies, right? Like you look at there's a few. The Nun 2 did really well over a season, because it costs like $36 and a bag of M&Ms. Right. So it's like,
and that's also not based off marketing. That's going to be based off people that want to see The Nun.
Yeah, but it's also
it's got a built-in audience. I think
it's the strategy of.
But you didn't spend $1 million.
You didn't spend $1 billion or $300 million to do it, and these different things. So like the other question is, has there been a movie to perform that has like a big budget, huge thing? And it hasn't, because even a movie like Gran Turismo, which didn't necessarily do gangbusters.
That's already come out?
Yeah, it did $100 million though. It did $100 million.
Off of what?
Off of I think it's going to make a little bit of a profit.
Okay.
It didn't cost that. But again, it's not. And you're looking at even Blue Beetle, which word of mouth. Well, maybe if they're lucky, break even. Maybe on a movie that was supposed to be made for HBO Max. Okay,
still barely breaking even's rough.
But it's not as rough as you'd think when you take into consideration.
There was no
promotion.
There was no promo.
Yeah.
It was a lesser known character, and it only cost $120 million. If that movie cost $200 million, then it's a
and
big
word of mouth
problem.
on Blue Beetle really helped it.
Yes.
And I think that the love for Sholo and certain other and people that were in it getting out there helped it enough. But imagine if they'd had like promoted it.
I know.
I think it would have profited with.
I don't know.
Because it's this close. I think that $20 million bump would have been.
It would have helped.
It would have. It's interesting because you still have to put out some promotion. So there is still a marketing budget, but it's just not as inflated as having to pay everybody to go to all these different events, interviews, events, et cetera, right? But it's one of those situations where I think if Blue Beetle had that promotion, I do think it would have done a little bit better.
I agree with it, a little bit better. I mean, whether or not it would have jumped it over, who knows? But I mean, and we've talked about it many times over, and we'll have to keep rehashing it. But like something like Black Adam, which made 400 or whatever it did, and it's something along 400, 410, or maybe close to it, whatever. People say it broke even, it made a little money, it lost just a little bit. If that movie costs $120 million, if you give The Rock more as far as back end, and you give whatever you and make some more real locations and cut down on the VFX, that movie could have easily made a profit. Easily. But they paid way too much money, overspent. Indiana Jones, another one, overspending. So yeah, but as far as the promotion side of it, there are movies that are out there making money. I mean, even at the top. I'll go to the box office for last week. All right, box office last week was The Nun 2, which made 14.5. Haunting in Venice, again, did well internationally. Equalizer 3 is another one that did fairly well. Equalizer 3, we'll use that as an example, right? Equalizer 3 made 133 worldwide. Now, if I'm going to guess the Equalizer's budget, I'm going to say 60 to 70 million. Let's see, Equalizer 3 budget is...
Nice.
70 million.
Wow.
70 million.
You cheated. I guarantee you looked that up before we got here, bro.
I swear to you I didn't, because what costs money there?
Denzel and filming days. Like that's
Denzel, Fuqua, the filming, real locations. It's a small movie. That's the type. Those types of movies are making a comeback, man.
Yeah, which I'm so happy about.
Yeah,
man.
Me too.
Like I miss a nice mid-budget thriller, and the fact that everyone's excited for Fincher, Scorsese, Michael Mann to all have movies this year. The fact that those guys haven't had a movie the same year since '95,
crazy.
When we like this feels like auteur cinema mixing with blockbusters in a way that I've been saying we need, because I think the blockbusters still do bolster the exhibition industry, keep movie theaters open. But if the theaters are open at scale, then you can have Killers of the Flower Moon do well. Then you can have The Killer doesn't need need to do exceptionally. It just needs to come out while people are excited about movies.
Agreed. I just want to know, but Scorsese does get himself into that problem of overspending sometimes.
Also, a 4-hour runtime is going to be real hard to run a lot.
So I have a friend who saw it, and I don't want to say the person's name because I don't know if they're allowed to talk about it. But again, masterful. Long,
I can't wait. But
masterful.
3 hours 40 minutes means you can play it twice to 3 times a day.
For real.
Like that's rough.
I don't
It's a lot.
don't watch movies that long.
I know, I get it.
I refuse.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why Kill Bill was split into 2 parts. There's a reason why Infinity War and Endgame were split into 2 parts. And those are both 3 hours long. Like, why?
Well, we haven't seen the movie yet.
I understand that, but like, it is already hard enough. And I know Scorsese knows better than anybody. It's already hard enough to get an audience's attention, let alone to get them to go sit down to see your thing in the first place. You are really playing with fire to be like, I'm going to make you watch a 4-hour movie.
I don't think he's
In
appealing
the
to
theater.
20-somethings, though. I think he's appealing to his demographic, which is willing to sit.
In the theater, though, it's trickier because, look, I'm a Scorsese mark, man. But I'm going, whew, that's a night. That's a night.
I don't need half a work day to see a movie.
I know, but
That's insane.
But what I will say is this: enjoying them at home, I can watch like Snyder Cut, all those things. I can watch them at home. The movie that I watched the other day, it just started. I've never seen it before. Babylon. That movie is crazy.
Yeah, I really like Babylon a lot.
Dude,
you got slept on, man. That movie's fun.
So I haven't seen. The first 30 minutes is the opening. It's a 3-hour movie.
Party.
It's a long movie, but it's legit.
Yeah,
Like
it's great.
It literally is a party for the first, and then before the 30 minutes ends, it goes Babylon. Right? my wife and I that's the intro. And
wait a minute! You're talking about the movie that came out last year with Margot
Robbie,
Robbie,
Brad Pitt. I saw it in theaters, and I saw it like 3 weeks in, and it already wasn't doing that well because it never did that well.
People didn't like
and there
that
was
movie.
like 7 people in the theater, and I remember when Babylon came on screen at like the 23-minute mark, I went, "Oh!"
Dude,
and
it's 28 minutes. 28
it was deep,
minutes.
and I remember I just made like a sound, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not worried. No one's in here with me." But I remember it was like affecting enough that I was like, "Ah!" and like no one saw it, and I was yelling to the void. It made my top 20 last year.
Now I
So
don't know.
fun.
I don't know where it goes past because they get to the movie set where I am at right now.
I love that it's been out a year and no one talked about it to the scale. You're like, I don't know what the movie is.
I have
like,
no idea.
Everything's ruined on the 3rd day it's out, but you're like, nah, not this movie.
I had no idea what it was, and I like Damien Chazelle a lot, but I'm watching. My wife and I are like, this is a crazy movie. Like it's crazy. Like, and I so far I really enjoy it, but I got to see the rest of it because maybe that's what happens. But anyway,
I saw 110 movies last year. It made my top 20. It's in the top 5th of movies, but no one saw it.
But it's another thing though. You're putting out a movie at that point that's 3 hours long that nobody knows what the hell it is, and it's like it's a crazy movie. But anyway, but I bring up the practical effects. I bring up all that stuff, and I bring the scaled down stuff because Deadpool 3 is in the news with stuff very similar to that. Let's talk about it. All right, Deadpool 3. Director Sean Levy confirms that the threequel will explore the Fox Marvel legacy. Deadpool 3 director Sean Levy has confirmed that the upcoming MCU threequel will not ignore the now defunct 20th Century Fox era of Marvel-based films. Deadpool 3 is going to be a first for the MCU in more ways than one. Not only will the threequel be the first ever Marvel Studios R-rated release, but it'll also incorporate several characters from the now defunct 20th Century Fox era of Marvel-based movies into the MCU. Though it's worth mentioning that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness did feature Patrick Stewart's Charles Xavier in an alternate universe set sequence. The movie's main duo, Wade Wilson and Logan, obviously started out under the Fox Marvel banner, and even though they will become a part of the MCU in Deadpool's latest adventure, Sean Levy has confirmed that the Fox legacy will be part of our storytelling. Levy says, Deadpool and Wolverine are iconic Marvel characters, more specifically, iconic Marvel of the Fox era characters. We're not going to pretend, we snap our fingers and suddenly the Fox legacy doesn't exist. And it shaped a lot of what we know in the MCU. Fox also shaped Ryan's career, Hugh's career, my career. There's a lot of history there, and there's a lot of Marvel history at Fox, and that's part of our storytelling. There have been numerous reports relating to certain characters making cameos, not only from X-Men and Fantastic Four, but even the likes of Channing Tatum as Gambit, who never got to make his debut before the plug was pulled on his solo movie. So far, the only confirmed appearance outside of Reynolds and Jackman is Jennifer Garner's Elektra. But if she is involved, you can bet there is some other names that we heard of that will be showing up. Specific lot details remain a mystery for now, but Wade and Wolverine are expected to find themselves trapped in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So there's a lot of different things here, but there's also some more stuff that we can talk about up top. But before we even get into this, do you know that we did a when we were talking about Deadpool? I don't know if you saw this, but we did a short based off of the thing you talked about with the when they cut the budget down.
Yeah.
So that short alone on YouTube has done 8 million views. On Instagram, it did like 2 or 3 million views. On TikTok,
on
Facebook.
the budget. Do I remember
When I was talking about how the scene in the cab when he left the guns in the cab, they had to save the budget because
that
basically
did 8 million.
8 million views on YouTube. On Instagram,
Deadpool's popular.
It is.
I think this Deadpool guy's going to make some money from Marvel. I think they're smart to double down on Ryan Reynolds. And I think that if we can make an 8 million view thing on YouTube, their marketing's locked.
Unfortunately, it was a short, so it doesn't.
So it made 0 cents.
But I could have used that. Then I could have monetized.
A short? A short?
You either need the rubric now is either 10 million views on a short 90 days, or I think it's like 4,000 watch hours over 365, something like that.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But anyway, the reason I bring up Deadpool.
Unfortunate. Well, anyway.
Whatever.
Sorry.
Oh, we're gonna hit a hard K in this channel. What am I talking about?
Hey! You're the one that didn't want to talk about stuff for.
That's true.
Didn't want to, bitch, or couldn't. Those are two completely different.
Speaking of that, though, because people are going to be asking as far as that, because there's, as we've talked about many times over, and I just talked about somebody this recently, and as I've made very clear up top, I am all for and think that both the writers and the actors should get everything that they're asking for. They've been fighting an absolutely incredible fight. They are deserved everything they're fighting for, and I do think that there has been some, and also because they've been very preoccupied with other things, there's been some tricky information when it's come to this space as far as what people can talk about, what they can't talk about. I've had a lot of people have feedback about the episode that myself, Dan, Roxy, and Kate did, and how that was very helpful in an understanding too. I got an email back from SAG that said critique is allowed. Critique is something that they're not considering crossing the line, and if it's a critique show, the way that I look at it also is that if you guys are coming on this show and we're talking about news and editorials and things of that nature, and I'm paying you to be here, for the day that you're on this show, you are a paid critic. You're not a paid critic on Deadline. You're not a paid critic on Variety or whatever too, but you're a paid critic. And if it's a legitimate, my show is certified on Rotten Tomatoes. My show is part of the BFCA. Like it is. It's a professional show. Whether people, because we're talking about farts or whatever, it is. And that's the thing that I think was tricky to you guys. And even Coy was like, look, as long as it's like, if it's when you're out there promoting on social media, as far as like, look, this film, I'm going to see, I'm going to the premiere, I'm going to that could be looked as promotional. It could. When you're on there talking about what you think about the particular thing, is it a good move?
Editorializing is the word I finally heard back from SAG.
100%.
Like it took a bit because they're busy, but editorialize is like what we are doing, and that was the all clear to editorialize things that aren't like we're just saying go see this thing. And social media versus YouTube are also tricky lines because this is long form editorialization, and I think YouTube was considered promo material when the internet was even younger.
They're still
whereas
learning
now,
it. They're still learning
this is
it.
all 10 years old. I mean, relatively.
People still don't know, even though it's so young still, YouTube and all that. They see YouTube, they think cat videos, they think these things. They don't realize that
this is TV now.
And it's a lot of places where people get their media and their news from, and certain things like shows.
There was a movie I was watching, and they looked up something on TikTok instead of Google, and I was like, huh! Like I think it was Bottoms, where instead of Googling something, they TikToked something, and I was like, oh, I'm already the next old.
It's becoming a thing. I mean, you really want to feel old. Kids these days don't understand what changing the channel is. Right. They to the point where the only word channel that they are familiar with are YouTube channels. They don't understand the idea of a TV channel. And there was some story that went viral, ironically, on TikTok of a millennial who, with their kid, was like, "Can we go to grandma's and watch the random thing?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, where you press a button and then a random thing comes on. You don't decide it. And she was like, "Oh my God, you mean TV?" Yeah. Because everything's streaming now. Right. So if you want to watch it, you just pick it.
I mean, go back to 70s TV. It's a lot like TikTok, kids. You just scroll. You just hope for the best. You see what happens.
Scroll. All right, so let's talk about this quote. So this first part, because there's another Deadpool story as well, as far as he got deeper into it about locations and all that. But the MCU part of it, the Fox, this is something you said you knew it was going to happen
7 years ago
from the beginning.
Yeah.
But what I really liked about this story was the fact that it's not there have been like gimmicks as far as, oh, look at so and so that just showed up. This seems to be a big plot point overall that not only is going to be a part and crucial to the story itself, but is also going to finally get us, oh, well, that's what this multiverse thing is that they're talking about. So what do you think?
I think we talked about it on this show. One of the things people don't remember about Deadpool 1 is how much heart is in it.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a really key element of the end of the Fox universe is going to get its due. I know we give the MCU a lot of very due credit for the superhero wave, but I think there's also due love to be given to what Fox brought us. It elevated when we had just Blade followed by X-Men and Spider-Man.
Right.
That was this beautiful bubble that caused all this stuff to first start. But Fox then ran with that baton. Like, if you look at the relay race that is superhero stuff, Fox had that baton for quite some time. The X-Men movies did really well. Daredevil, though it wasn't beloved, did push things forward. It caused Ghost Rider to exist. There was a time they were going to make a Secret Wars movie with just Fox characters, with Ghost Rider, Fantastic Four, X-Men. There was a big crossover event a la Infinity War planned with just Fox characters. So this is a universe that was almost shared before the MCU did it. There's a deleted scene in Fantastic Four where he morphs his face, Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards, morphs his face into Hugh Jackman because it was going to be like that shared universe stuff before this all did it. So I think there's this really justified, how did this end so unceremoniously within the filmmakers? I think that New Mutants got really screwed over by having it come out like 10 different times, delayed in weird different formats, and then the pandemic really like buried that nail. I think having the X-Men Dark Phoenix be the end of the X-Men saga by remaking a movie they'd already failed to make, by having the writer do his directorial debut. Like, there's a lot of things that really made the end of Fox sullied, and I think it's really smart to use your most profitable character, low budget, high profit, and a character that can break the fourth wall, that can know he's in a multiverse saga, that can acknowledge all these things by doing Kill the Fox universe, not just be comedic in making the multiverse work, but actually plot driven, allow a multiverse to feel like it has weight. The issue with the MCU right now is that it doesn't feel like there's weight or substance or ramifications. If you suddenly have a universe die with beloved characters, tying us into our love and nostalgia, tying us into a fourth wall breaking character, tying us into something that we didn't get to mourn, you can allow weight and an R rating push through and a character we've been wanting and all these characters get their due before you inherently and inevitably bring in a new wave of X-Men. We got to say bye to the old ones. Deadpool's a perfect place to do it, and I'm glad it's Sean Levy because he has heart and comedy mastered. Very excited.
Winston, I will tell you.
It's great.
Yeah, I know. Just making sure. I know. I will tell you that was 3 months of being off the air with us.
I 1,000%
bottled up into one thought.
I miss Capes and Cowls. It's sitting inside me waiting.
I was sitting here. I was like, "Oh right, this boy can talk."
But as much as I agree with that sentiment, I will also say all of it.
There's more.
No, but all of it was fact.
Part two.
No, that's the thing with you. You somehow can be like. There's some people that will talk, and you're like, when is this dude gonna stop? But I'm sitting here listening to you, going, yeah, right. Yeah, it's like fact after fact after fact.
And I try not to be redundant.
No, it was fantastic. It was fantastic, and you're 100% right of everything that you just said as far as how the gravitas and the weight behind it. But Winston, I'm curious of what you think when it comes to Fox and how they're going to play with this, and because we have been missing some stuff, as Coy just said, with Marvel, that there hasn't been that kind of. There hasn't been a lot of weight to it.
No, there hasn't. I think that the two closest that we've got out of that were Wakanda Forever and Guardians 3.
Yep.
And you could make the argument minor moments of Love and Thunder. I know overall as a film it didn't do well, but I know. But the things that went down with Natalie Portman, seriously,
Yes.
I think that did have some gravitas.
Good point.
And that's part of the problem. I think not everything has to be about death for sure. But knowing that was the theme that they were going with, is dealing with grief, dealing with loss, since we had that major loss at the end of Endgame, there hasn't been an anchor. And I understand that you do need to build things up. We're trying to figure out where this is all going. I guess the part that makes it hard to focus on loss and grief like that, you have to already have a connection to what's going on. So to make that the central focal point while trying to introduce a bunch of new characters is a little tricky.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It would be one thing if everything was a WandaVision, if everything was a Wakanda Forever, and it really is that. But it was like, we're going to talk about grief, but while introducing you to Shang-Chi. And I was like, good movie, but I'm like, okay.
Right.
And like, you know what I mean? Like Spider-Man worked because it's the same thing. We were giving our full goodbye homage, but it's just very weird to be on a negative trend of a thought process when you're trying to begin again.
Sure. Well, look, one of these things with Deadpool 3 is that it obviously the object of resetting with the Fox universe and all that too, but it's essentially could be a reset of the MCU, and I don't mean a reset from going back to the beginning. I'm talking about from where we are today, the idea, and as we're going to put in the title of this video, if Deadpool 3 can save the MCU, right? If it can, because it doesn't have that kind of, you know, everybody cheering and getting ready like your favorite team is going to win a championship. You know,
I already know what's about to happen. I think I can take it an even more specific step further than what Coy was saying, in that will probably be the fourth wall break that Deadpool ultimately does, is he goes, in order to save the MCU, I have to kill the MCU. And that's ultimately what it's going to be,
I think, honestly, not only is it going to right the ship, but look at the timing. It's incredible. Not only has everything led to this in the business side of things, because, you know, Ryan's been half coming back to Deadpool for so long, but this is when Chapek's out, Iger's back in, which is something that is going to be slowing down the volume of content. Kevin Feige is, even though right now things in Marvel are not as good as they've been, is known for writing ships when he looks at the fans and leads things astray. All of the movies we've had lately have been under the Chapek era. We've got the Marvels coming out, which I think was like half and half, but Captain America 4 filming now, Deadpool being the thing that really writes the ship because it got moved forward. I don't think it's coming out in that date anymore, but I think it's still going to be the first of this new wave.
We'll talk about that in a second too.
I honestly think that Deadpool 3 is not only going to be timing-wise the first R-rated movie, the thing that shows the multiverse to be actually weighted and stuff, but it's the first thing where I think Kevin Feige's had the time to be like, okay, we messed up here, here, and here. We've got this multiversal character with fourth wall breaking that can solve it. It has the inherent nostalgia of cameos built in. It has the weight of a dying universe. It has all the things you need to write the ship, and it allows a backdoor into Secret Invasion post Loki. This is the perfect storm of there's only one way to fix this, and it's my boy. Like, I think this is great.
The only thing I will say, and I do think it will do what it needs to be done, the only thing I will say that we just want to be careful, and I know that these are two completely different studios and completely different examples with completely different scenarios going into it. I am always very hesitant now to say this is the one thing that will right the ship, because that's everything they said about The Flash. And that did not, obviously we're going to move into the new era of DC coming up. But it's very interesting how that was the narrative going forward, and it did not play out the way.
As long as we're saying it and they're not saying it, it's different. Like optics. Like I think from the weighted fan perspective versus a PR tactic. Like I'd call this Deadpool the multiverse and No Way Home, because that's what it's going to be. And like I think that's going to help a lot of things. But I wouldn't, if I was Marvel, I wouldn't go like it's the only thing we have left, like they did with Flash.
And there's a lot of times where you could feel like it's the only thing left because you feel like it's a bad habit. And if you want a good habit instead of a bad habit, let me tell you about Fume. All right, guys. This episode is sponsored by Fume. Bad habits, man. A lot of people have bad habits, and bad habits can really kick your ass, and they can mess with your health. They really can set you back. I've seen it, been around it, and I know. And when you see this, the first thing you go, well, what is that? You know, the first thing you should know is that's not a vape pen. It's not electronic. It's natural. That's why I'm on board in the first place. What is it then? It's a device. And it helps you quit nasty habits, and that's why I was on board right away when they reached out. At first, I'm not gonna lie, I was skeptical. I didn't know. I was like, I don't know, that's not really my thing. It's like, wait a minute. You're not breathing in nasty chemicals with this. And what it is, it's it's just fresh air. It's natural air. It is flavored air. That's it. You heard me. Air. And it flavors it. It is a great way to replace nasty habits. There is no nasty chemicals, none of the stuff that creates bad habits. And that to me was like, wait a minute. So you can actually turn a bad habit and you just make it a good habit because it ain't messing you up and it ain't hurting you. Because I said, wait a minute, flavored air? And I said, it just feels fresh. They sent me one of them. And I said, okay, great, cool. It's pretty well weighted. It's perfectly balanced and it's very easy to fidget with. Stopping is something that everybody puts off because it is hard. But if you switch to Fume, it is easy and it's enjoyable and it's fun. Fume has served over 100,000 customers and has had thousands of success stories, and there's no reason that can't be you. Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com and use that code BIGTHING. You can get 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. That's tryfume.com. Use that code BIGTHING to save an additional 10% off your order today. Thank you to our friends over at Fume. As I said, it's when I heard about it, I didn't know at first. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not really usually what I do. But then when I heard the fact that when there are bad habits that you can combat with a good habit, all on board. And we'll even have Riley talking about it a little bit more next week. But if you want to check it out, please go ahead, check out the link in the description. All right, moving on. I want to stay with Deadpool, though, guys, because there's some more stuff that Sean Levy said. Okay, this one, Dark Horizons, and they were talking more about I think it was the idea of the real sets as opposed to the VFX stuff. And so one of the parts of production that Levy was adamant about was going practical effects where possible. And Marvel films in recent times have been heavily criticized for their over-reliance on digital effects and post-production pipeline problematic enough. It has led to Marvel's own in-house VFX team becoming the first VFX workers to vote on unionize. Deadpool 3 is using locations shooting a portion of the film. Doing so led to the leaked set photos of Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool and Hugh Jackman's Wolverine being photographed fighting on Norfolk Beach in the UK. Sean Levy acknowledges the leak being an unfortunate cost of doing what they're doing. He says, "It bums me out that photos have been leaked online, but this is the price we pay for committing to real locations. I made a decision very early in prep that even though Deadpool is now in the MCU, I didn't want another Marvel movie shot on a green screen stage with digital set extensions. With the production on hold, Levy says he is understandably frustrated but feels bad for his colleagues on screen who have to keep eating obscene amounts of protein. It is still, boiled chicken 17 times a day. Deadpool 3 was previously slated for May 3rd, 2024. The new date is unknown." All right, lots in that alone. The first part is another reason why I'm so excited for Deadpool, as we talked about in the beginning. Now, one of the things that you had the concerns with when you mentioned like the Flash, right? You said that they said this could be the thing that resets it all. The one thing that the Flash didn't really have is, yes, the Flash was in other movies, but didn't have other movies to kind of continue over the way that like Guardians 3 had. Guardians 3 had the boom, 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 right? Deadpool has already hit hard twice with 1 and 2, and people are excited to see him. They love the character. And to go back to what we were talking about earlier also, even though there's going to be some heavy themes and everything inside of it, Deadpool, it's Ryan Reynolds. There's going to be a lot of comedy. It's Sean Levy. There's going to be a lot of comedy involved in it. We know that. It's the balance. There's going to be a lot of jokes between Wolverine and Deadpool, and there's going to be a lot of comedic moments. That's for sure. It's the balance of it all. But it's such a proven commodity at this point. And the idea for me, when I'm invested in any television show, because the MCU, one of the main things that was a big attraction, it was a television show. You'd have to go see the next one to know what's going on in the next one, even though they say, no, you don't. Sure you do. It hasn't felt that way recently. And now going into this one and knowing that finally they're talking about this multiverse thing, and the only multiverse one that really, even though Doctor Strange was called Multiverse of Madness, it was just kind of all over the place. No Way Home, yeah, that had something to do with it. What if in different scenarios, and maybe if they would actually combine that thing that happened with Ultron. But this could really lead us to Secret Wars. This really could lead us in general. So the idea that they're doing that and playing that out and doing it on practical effects and doing it on real locations, that's another way. Scale down. Granted, it's going to take a little longer to shoot, and you're probably still going to have an inflated budget because you have so many people in this one. It's a third movie. You've earned it at this point. Yeah. You know what I mean? Well, didn't Indiana Jones earn it? It's been 5 movies. Very different situation. He was out of the limelight for a long time.
I think the other thing that will help, to be honest with you, you just saw the mentioning of using real locations and pulling back on the VFX. The VFX will be there for the superpowers, but you are in turn attempting to eliminate as much green screen as possible. Right. That is going to save a decent amount of money. So yes, it's still going to be a large budgeted movie, but I don't see it hitting the 250-300 because you're pulling back on a lot of what would have inflated that in the first place.
Sure. And it's like one of these things where you're also, I believe that they're going to really concentrate on the story of it, as opposed to, well, let's just hire the VFX team and just throw a whole bunch of effects. They'll eat it up like, empty calories. Here you go. And I do feel like there's going to be gimmicks. Let's not call it anything, but there's going to be some gimmicks in it, but it's not going to be all gimmicks. It's not going to be just, well, there's so-and-so, because Gambit showing up, it's almost like the move they did. Now, it's a spoiler now for The Flash. If you haven't seen The Flash, you've been warned, fast forward past it. Okay, spoiler, great. It's almost like that end of The Flash with Nicolas Cage and all those types of things. Is that, to me, after watching, I've seen the movie now 3 times, right? Now, when that scene comes up at the end, it's still like, they're just, oh yeah, look at that guy.
They don't interact at all. It doesn't change the plot.
It doesn't really change it. It's just like, oh, look at that guy. And then it's like, now, but what is it now? Is that going to be the same kind of thing for this? Or is it going to be one of those moments like, no, there's a reason why they're all here. There's a reason why in general.
What you need to do is you need it to be very X-Men First Class. I need to be able to see Hugh Jackman in a bar. Hey, we're putting together, go yourself.
Right.
And that's it. That was enough to give me the nod and the little gimmicky of Wolverine is in this.
But it was relevant.
But it was relevant.
Yep.
It actually added character development for Logan, and even with Magneto and Charles to go, okay, do we need to change our approach with some of these? Like, how do we, because it was a part of that whole sequence of them trying to find what mutants to be a part of. I think he was the last one before the song sequence like ended or whatever it was. I think if you do some stuff like that, and that might be what we get out of some of it, it might literally be Gambit being like, oh, there's Gambit, and then just like keep going. That would in turn kind of work, because then you might even have a situation where Channing Tatum is like me trying to get this off the ground the whole time. Right. Like it's a direct nod to the fact that you couldn't do anything with it,
Right.
And I think it'll serve the plot to have multiple Wolverines. I think it'll serve the plot to have like these multiple stories to add weight to the multiverse idea. So I think in having cameos, it will help the story, not hinder it, like having a dismissive cameo. And I think this is the right movie to do it. I also think that what he's describing with practical sets and all those things, I honestly think this could make, and this is a big statement, but this could make Secret Wars better.
I agree with
because if you build I think the end of this movie, the post-credit scene is going to be them stuck in Battle World, and I think they're going to be trapped, and I think that way you don't have to have Deadpool in a couple movies, you don't have to have Wolverine in a couple movies. I think we keep Hugh Jackman as Wolverine through whatever next wave is into Secret Wars, and then Secret Wars basically is going to end the MCU as we know it, allowing whatever cherry-picked characters they want to keep. That happens in comics all the time. New Avengers evolve, you bring characters in and back, but then you start the new universe with a new Wolverine. But I think we end Deadpool with a new established realm of reality. I'd call it Battle World, because that's what they do in Secret Wars. It's run by Doctor Doom. He orchestrates stuff in Secret Wars 1 in 1984. It's run by the Beyonder. We'll talk about it more as we get closer. But what I would do is establish what it looks like with practical, and then Secret Wars, the standard is going to be looking good.
Well, what do you think about, you mentioned this, the Wolverine portion of it, right? There's been rumors and things too. How many Wolverines do you think we're going to see in this? Do you think we just get
like 20?
You think we get a bunch?
I think we get a ton. I think every rumored Wolverine casting is going to cameo,
which would be interesting.
That gives them another year or so to actually cast the real one in the X-Men movies going forward.
About that, but I want. What were you going to say?
I think you're going to get your Wolverine casting by the end of the movie.
I think you're right.
I don't think Hugh. I think Hugh said last ride, baby, and he's down to do that, because he had said before all this happened he was tired of doing this, and it's not that he didn't love the character. He's like, I am tired of eating nothing but chicken every single
bad for
day,
him, dude. This 3-month gap.
I guarantee you, I'll put money on that. I think that by the time this is over, Hugh is done. So I think maybe you have some sort of portal, Battle World, whatever, and he's like, oh, Ryan Reynolds is like, I mean, Logan will take care of you. Turn over and there's Taron Egerton, and you're just like, wait.
Well, that's a great point, because this is one of the rumors that's out there, is the fact that you've heard about Daniel Radcliffe, you've heard about Taron Egerton, you've heard about all these different Wolverines that are potentially showing up. One of the rumors that I found fascinating, that I think actually would be really interesting if they did it this way, was that they would essentially introduce to you who the new Wolverine was. But by the time the movie ended,
you don't know
who it is. It's like, he's in there. Like, the real Wolverine is in there, but we're not telling you which one it is yet. I love that.
That's really fun.
I love that if that's the case.
That could be funny. I mean, what would probably end up happening with all the different Wolverines is you will get some sort of connection to one of the other castings, a Fantastic Four person, right. Some other X-Men, etc. And so you might even get it when, you know, me and Loki are going to take care of it. And he's just off camera and he looks over and he's like, you're not, what the, and like that. So maybe you don't see them, but that also gives you the nod once you figure out who that is, what everything involved in their universe is actually being put forth.
There's so much to even talk about. And the next one, you know, we'll talk about is the date, because it's scheduled to come out in May. Now, is there a world at all that it could still come out in May?
Hell no.
They said they were half done filming. I do think one of the perks would be they've had time to edit the whatever half they've filmed. Obviously, it's not chronological, but they've been able to fine tune it. I think this will be the best case of additional photography ever, where if they filmed half, they can see what works, what doesn't, go back and film the other half. That does inflate the budget because they're going to have to play around. But I think this still could make a late summer release. I don't see how May could work.
Okay.
May, there's no way with May, just because. Again, we don't even have a remote idea. We're hoping, but we don't have a remote idea when this is actually going to end. And B, a lot of what has already been kind of discussed and what ends up happening with the industry anyway. You got to hope that if they get this stuff done and say that, let's call it the next 3 weeks. Let's be really optimistic about it and say 3 weeks from now, both strikes are over, right? The issue is trying to ramp production back up.
You don't think there's a plan? You don't think they already have a plan?
They've been waiting with like 5 buttons.
I know they do, but the holidays always shuts down Hollywood.
That's true.
And that's the problem,
That's
is
true.
that you're
I think
not
that's
going to
why
have
they're rushing now.
I get it, but
that's what, 2 months?
I know that's why they're doing it, but that's not enough runway. I genuinely don't believe that's
to get
enough.
anything done?
Stuff that was more in the can, not Deadpool. If they're only half shot.
But you can get, but if you have, well, no, not to get the full thing in the can, but what you could still, let's say, as you're saying, 3 weeks, this is all over, right? So that gives us like mid-October, so that they start, and they're like, okay, we have our battle plan in place. Let's get as much as we can get done until Thanksgiving. And then you got 2 weeks in December that you can shoot. And then you got to shoot in January. Then you got to start getting into post, right? Because that's about how much time you would need to if you've already shot half.
Yeah.
So
say it's an 80-day shoot.
So I'm with you. I think that there's no way it hits May.
It can't hit May.
I think July is possible.
That's
it
what
could still come out next year. I don't disagree with that.
I think late summer
shift.
we get it.
We're all agreeing on the shift, unless there's some kind of miracle of how much they had done, because there's stuff that they so take consideration, reshoots and things of that nature. But I think July is possible for sure. Now, as you guys know, if you've been watching my show and me talking about the inflated budgets and how I can't stand the inflated budgets, I do say that I understand when some movies have bigger budgets when they've earned them. This movie to me has earned a bigger budget. If it turns out to be like, if this one comes out and it's like, this movie cost $250 million, you're not going to hear me go, why?
This is like No Way Home, and No Way Home earned its budget. It's an end of something and the beginning of something. It's beginning of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Yeah, and you're ending Tobey and Andrews if that's the way they go.
Right.
I also think that this allows for a lot of potential, so you double down on it, and you've got business-wise a perspective on, okay, we were able to make $800 million off of the $100 million. That's all profit. We were able to make, the next one did inflate its budget, but it still made $900 million. So there's a precedent, and I also think that's a big part of why these negotiations are so aggressive is they looked at Deadpool. So Disney needs a win, and I think they're putting a lot on Deadpool. So I think they need to go back to filming Cap 4. I think they need to go back to filming Deadpool. I think that Iger's going, okay, we've got 7 more filming weeks of the year. I think that Zaslav, they're originally supposed to go back to filming Batman, or start filming Batman 2 in November. Yeah. Batman 2, now that's DC's big guy. And then, because that's the only thing they're going to have for that little gap year situation.
He wants Momoa to
promote the Aquaman in December. Yeah. But I also think he wants, because he keeps talking about how big the IP is to him. Yeah. He wants to start shooting his Harry Potter show. He wants to start shooting Batman 2. And then you've got Netflix, who is like movie a week. And those are the big 3 like vocal enemies of the people. Those are the ones that have been coming like, we just like money, starve them out of their houses. I think those 3 are like, okay, it didn't work. They had social media. They rallied the people's perspective. We got to go back and film.
Make no mistake about it. I guarantee you that if you ever found out the behind the scenes.
Oh, that movie's going to be great.
No, Zaslav is. Guys, can we end this, please? Guys, can we end this, please? Hey, Bob, can you please, Bob, I gotta take my phone call, please. Bob, we gotta get in the room, please. I think it's Netflix that's going like. Netflix is the one going the most. They've been doing the most pushback. I think that Disney and Warner Brothers like we got it.
Yeah.
Well, see, the problem is Bob is the one caught with all the quotes in his mouth.
Yeah, but he walked back on them.
Well,
real
because
early quotes.
He got his balls kicked in.
I understand that, but the idea of like, can we end this, please? I guarantee you. he was swinging his dick around.
Sure. No, I think out of all of them, Zaslav is the one for the most part.
Flailing.
Now I want to get more into what I will say. I want to bring up the Marvels thing, and I do want to talk about Aquaman with the guys. But I also want to tell you guys, as we've mentioned many times over with both RUMPL and AG1. RUMPL's back, guys.
Yeah.
I love RUMPL. So let's tell you about both of them right now. I get to talk about RUMPL again. You guys know I love talking about RUMPL. RUMPL was like Christmas for me the second they sent it. Why is RUMPL so special? Well, they're on a mission to introduce the world to better blankets, and they've done it. They're made with a durable, sustainable material, and they're built to last. They have so many great things about them. They are built to endure the elements. The blankets are made with durable materials that repel spills, sand, stains, odor. No matter where you bring it, if it gets dirty, you throw it in the washing machine. The original puffy blanket is RUMPL's #1 bestseller with over 1 million sold. I have one of these things, and I swear by it. With over 135 unique designs, there's a blanket for everyone. Now, RUMPL blankets are not just for the outdoors. They're perfect for, you can watch a movie on the couch, kick back in bed, or bring with you to the local theater. I have a bunch of different ones. I have one that I take with me when I'm out to watch my daughter's soccer game, or if we're going to the park and having a picnic. But I also have one that I mentioned. I curled up on the couch, fell asleep with it because it's so comfortable. People are always fighting for these things in my house. I got to get more. RUMPL also has a huge selection of indoor styles. They have the cozy hemp, they have the fleece, they have the Sherpa, all of it with responsibly sourced materials that they're made from. Super cozy, perfect. For my listeners, go to rumpl.com/thebigthing and use code thebigthing at checkout and get 10% off your first order. rumpl.com/thebigthing. I promise you that this will be the one that you say, I'm so glad I finally listened to you. I got a RUMPL blanket. And do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. I can't go a day without talking about AG1. And I'm not just talking about you guys. I talk to all my friends about it. I talk to my family about it. I love AG1. I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I have this zoo cup that I've talked to you. I don't know where I got it from. The zoo, apparently. But I put AG1 in there. And I gave it a try a long time ago because Brett Sheridan wouldn't be quiet about it. And he was right. He was absolutely right. I drink it right away. I drink it right before my coffee. And I'm just ready to go. I just know that when I'm taking it, I'm like this, it feels good. I'm not a big vitamins guy where I'm taking 87 vitamins throughout the day. I take it all in one shot. I put it in the cup, and I'm feeling good. I sweep the floor, and then I take the AG1. My sleep quality is doing good because of AG1. Since I've been drinking it, I really have noticed an overall just kind of like a new pep in my step. And why do you want to take a bunch of different things where you can just take one scoop of powder, put it in water once a day? That's it. AG1 was designed with ease in mind so you can live healthier and better without having to complicate your routine. I mean, you guys know this. At this point, if you've been listening to my show, everybody knows that we have AG1 in the back of the. You can see it on camera. You can see it. I talk about it all the time. I get people commenting that they were signing up for it, and so many different people have been signing up, and I'm so excited that you are. It's delivered every month. It's been very easy to make it a daily habit. I get the travel packs, and I'm going to need those travel packs. I'm going on vacation soon. If you want to take ownership of your health, try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. But you have to go to drinkag1.com/bigthing. drinkag1.com/bigthing. Check it out now. All right. Thank you to our friends over at both AG1 and RUMPL. Obviously, I take AG1 every day. I love it so much. And RUMPL, I fall asleep on my couch with that damn blanket all the damn time. I love it. So go and check that out. It helps out the show tremendously. You have no idea how much it helps. So anybody who has been doing that and helping us out and has the means to, thank you. The link is in the description. It's also the pinned comment. Always the pinned comment, the first of the comments. All right. This is also news that dropped yesterday. And Loki is going to have a new premiere date. And it's going to be on Tuesday nights. And it's going to be 9 p.m., very much so like Ahsoka. Ahsoka was 6 p.m. This is going to be 9 p.m., and it seems like it's going to be the norm for big titles. Thank God. Because, I mean, as somebody who does this, and we do this like 12, for a lot of different reasons. I understand people were telling me, because I was like, why didn't they always do this? And people were telling me, well, the reason why is because so the streamer doesn't crash and stuff. When you put it up that late at night, you got less of a chance of it to crash and the numbers and all. But they're a big enough company.
Servers, because the servers. I love the idea that they're like, we don't have servers.
It's not just that. You actually think that the people that don't want to watch this aren't going to stay up and
I think the servers are just for us, and then they're like daytime people are like, we'll get to it.
But
like
the reason why you look at there's a lot of different reasons to the success I think of Ahsoka for what they did. Another reason why it's because of what you're saying, right? If somebody who's really looking forward to seeing this, you wake up in the morning, you check Twitter, and if the first thing you do in the morning is not watch a show, it's spoiled for you.
Oh yeah,
like it's a prime time spot at like 6, 9 p.m. It's still midnight for East Coast. Which
I'm surprised they're doing a 9 p.m.
Me too.
Well, I get it though, but if you do the midnight, because the problem was, I'm sure they're all happy about it because
UK.
it was midnight for us,
3 a.m. for them.
It was 3 a.m. for them, and they were still doing it for the same reasons.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think the other thing that they have to keep it in consideration, they're already realizing that there's this own issue with network TV anyway. If you have something like this coming out, with the exception of maybe me, nobody here is watching Bachelor, right? So then fine, drop it at the same time on the streamer as Bachelor.
Different audience, right?
It's a completely different audience. People are going to tune in regardless.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
it's prime time spot. It makes more sense. And the other thing is too, when you're looking at it as far as like on the right now, they have nobody that can market it on the actor side and everything too.
Yeah.
They do have people like reactions, talking about it, social media, all that stuff. You want to get that out there because look at the hype again when you look at something like Ahsoka. People are talking about it at the prime time spot. It comes out and that's when everyone's talking about it. I always thought it was lunacy that they put it out. Disney was the only one that really did this.
Yeah,
HBO
the midnights
Max,
were rough.
It's so silly. And it's like, like doing it at this time, 9 o'clock, people talking about it. And next day, people waking up, they're talking about it again. Now I do think that they should have done the 6 o'clock.
I think the 6 was better.
I think better because it's better for East Coast because it's still midnight now for
you get a
them.
6 and a 9, which is way cleaner.
Way cleaner because now, but it's
you get dinner conversations West Coast.
Yeah, but the UK and everybody gets screwed.
That's true.
That's what happens. But I don't know how they fix that. But whatever they're again, what it looks like number wise as far as does North America make more sense and help them out more by doing it that way. I don't know, but either way,
Tuesday. That's great.
It's a big move.
That means we can talk about it by the time it'll be out.
Yeah, and we'll drop it and we'll be doing spoiler reviews of
that week's episode.
Yeah. So I'm going to be doing it very similar to the way that I do Ahsoka. So what I do right now is I have the immediate reaction that I do. And then what I have been doing that I might do for Loki, depending on, I always give it like the first test. I do my reaction to the actual episode itself. And if people like I hated that. I hated every second.
That was so jarring. And then it was Tara Reid. What was going on? An autoplay ad just scared the crap out of me.
But the problem that site's been open
for hours. 20 minutes.
That's a new thing that they're doing, right? Because so doing game time with doing doing game time with Roka will be on the ESPN site talking about a game, and then about 10 minutes in, all of a sudden, an ad just kicks in with the audio, and I'm like,
I hate that.
I completely lost my train of thought.
I lost my train of thought. I hate that stupid ad. Anyway, wherever we were, I was lost in the thought now.
Tuesday, excited. Reaction.
UK.
Us doing spoilers.
Thank you. Thank you. So we will be doing the immediate reaction. Then I will be doing the reaction itself, and then on Capes and Cowls, the three of us will be doing the spoiler review like we did with the other shows that came out. Minus, I think, Secret Invasion, which I think only these guys watched it. I watched the first two. I've never gone back,
bro.
I watched the finale like 2 days late and casually, and was still disappointed.
I just how do you start
that strong?
Relatively
I like the first two.
I like the first.
It was weird.
And then just the best.
I also like the fact that I was casually watching it 2 days later and I didn't care about spoilers.
You really liked it at first.
I would love the first two.
Yeah.
It dropped off like by a letter grade per after that though. Like it was like an A minus to like a B to like it's not great.
The best thing to come out of it, honestly, is there was a really great acting job done with Samuel L. Jackson. I'm not sure of the lady that
his wife,
her that played his wife.
The
two of them, they were phenomenal.
All the duo scenes. I love Don Cheadle in him.
Is it Kingston or Kingsley?
Kingsley.
And then Kingsley, he acted his ass off.
Kingsley Ben Adir, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Kingsley was doing an incredible job as an actor, but if you're in a crappy scenario, what are you going to do?
What can you do?
Yeah.
All right, we have two more stories that I want to try to jump to real quick. So before we say goodbye, let's get to this Marvel story. All right, so a new report, this is a comic book movie, New report says that the Marvels had a much higher budget than what was recently stated. Many MCU fans were shocked to learn that the Marvels had a modest budget in comparison to more recent projects, but a new report from Forbes says that that initial claim was too good to be true. Something about the Marvels having one of the smallest budgets ever for a Marvel studio film didn't pass the smell test. Spending on projects across film and TV was seemingly out of control during the Bob Chapek era of Disney, prompting the recently returned Bob Iger to publicly state that things would be different moving forward. Of course, by the time Iger made these comments, the Marvels had already wrapped filming. So when Variety Fair published a piece of the 33rd film in the MCU, asserting that the Marvels had a budget of just $130 million, many MCU fans had a hard time believing it. It turns out those doubters were right, as Forbes has dug into company filings and discovered that the Marvels actually spent $270 million, over 2 times what was initially reported by Vanity Fair on the Marvels. After filming in the UK and factoring in a $55 million tax credit, that brought the actual budget down to $219. Filming on the Marvels commenced on May 31st, wrapped on the 13th of 2022. Reshoots commenced in August 2022, with some reports stating that the film was undergoing a massive overhaul. Something similar was reported on Secret Invasion. That didn't turn out well. With the increased budget, it's now critical on the Marvels to repeat the box office success of Captain Marvel. What are the odds of that happening in this new post-COVID box office landscape? I don't think this movie's doing well, guys.
Don't do it.
I know. I don't think it's doing well.
Don't do it.
I don't think it's doing well. Not with this budget.
There's no way.
If this budget was $120 million as it first reported, I'd say got a good shot. Got a good shot to make around 400 mil, which would still probably be something, maybe even 500, which should be something. 270, if that's or let's say with the tax credit, 220 with marking now at like 320.
At 320 at best, it's got to clear 5.
It's got to clear like 5 or 6. We're not. It's the same conversation we'll have about Aquaman in 10 minutes from now. It's like the $1 billion movie. The reason that both of those movies hit $1 billion. There's 2 reasons why. One, we were in the golden era of the MCU during that time when they both hit $1 billion.
It was also between Infinity War and Endgame.
That was point 2. Point 2 is that it was right in between, and it was like, well, how does that play
What's happening?
into? It was right after the snap. How does it? Whatever came out, it was like, what happens next? And we don't know the story itself. I said the dynamic is so important for the 3 of them. It looks like it's great, the dynamic, but if it's the same kind of generic superhero movie that we're seeing in every freaking movie that is coming out, minus Guardians, it's got problems. You don't think so?
No, it's not that. I agree with you. I think the one thing that may potentially give it a slight leg up here, and this will be something that's very interesting, is we have seen a massive flux of the power of the dollar behind women in media right now.
True.
So you're talking about Barbie.
Yep.
You're talking about Taylor Swift. You're talking about Beyonce. Literally that has been like the
Right.
big thing is how much women have moved
support
the GDP this past summer. So if you have a situation where people are able to be like, hey, trio of women coming here, Nia DaCosta doing her thing, if that's enough to push it, obviously the movie needs to be at least good. You prefer it needs to be great.
But if that's the case, Winston, also, you've got to design it, because with Barbie, Beyonce, Taylor's, all the examples you gave, they're designed specifically for women, for that audience.
I agree.
And this, just because of the dynamic itself, it's still packaged inside of a Marvel. And that's the tricky situation Marvel will find themselves in, because if you're going to go after the female audience, which is absolutely a smart move to do inside of it, but you're definitely going to have the mouth breathers going, oh, MCU. You're going to have that. But you're also going to have the maybe people who are like, well, this doesn't necessarily, it's not my jam, but I love the fact that it is, you know what I mean? Like
But
Barbie wasn't for me, but I know why I made a lot of money.
But it wasn't for you, but you could still acknowledge it was a good movie.
Yeah,
it was something you still would have taken your daughters to.
I told my wife and my daughter, like it's very similar where there's movies that's like father and son and all these. I was like, this is such a mother-daughter movie. I told my wife and my oldest, you guys have to see this. And it's for me, I don't know if I'll ever see it again, but for my daughter and my wife, They went and they loved it, and it was like perfect. For them.
So my question, just to piggyback off
Marvels,
of that,
no, because I don't necessarily think that they'll go. But I don't know.
it depends.
The difference is I haven't seen the movie.
Because remember, you said that about Miss Marvel, and then you watched it, and you were like, actually, I really can get behind.
You're
this.
right. You're absolutely right.
My big concern for the Marvels is
real quick. I didn't say that for the Marvels that it doesn't speak for me yet, because what I'm saying if they're going to direct it completely towards in your scenario, because right now it does look like it's directed towards the Marvel fan and ladies. It's targeted for both, and that's why I actually think that it's got a tougher road, because if it was just geared towards women, they were going after just the female audience right now. They might have, because of what you're talking about, but it's a tricky situation. I cut him off. So
coming off what you guys are both saying is, I think this is the movie that has the biggest concern with the strike.
Yeah.
I think that this is a movie based off of the dynamic between these three women, and the only things we've seen have been generic adjacent. And I think the relationship between Tiana and Brie is going to be really important. I think the relationship that we have with Amon Vellani is important, much less Amon, Tiana, and Brie Larson showing their dynamic on talk shows, on press tours, on that like fun hijinks. So I think that we need the actors back for this to do anywhere close to what it needs to, more than other films. I don't think
we talked about this. For
a while ago, I was saying, and we've also been saying this is. We know Loki's going to do at least decently, and we know that Guardians was going to do decently. This is the first test of Phase 5 after Ant-Man's failure. So the fact that we're facing a strike, the fact that they're facing a $270 million budget, the fact that they're facing the MCU assholes, it's really got a lot to fight, and I'm really worried about it because I like what Nia DaCosta has said about it so far. I really like that Brie Larson looks to be playing more of what I consider Captain Marvel. Like, I love Brie Larson, and I love Carol Danvers. I did not love the first
You
Marvels.
said that, but you also, the other thing that you said was because of the Chapek era and the reset of where they were, their storytelling and all of that, the Marvels was still part of that.
Yeah.
The new set of movies kind of coming out after that, Deadpool 3, Captain America, like all these different movies with like a new plan, because when the Marvels came out, there was 87 shows. They were going to do 3 a year, 4 movies a year, and they had all this, and it was like the boom, 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 boom. So, and maybe also the Marvels didn't have all the attention from, like, say, Kevin Feige at that point, because there was so much going on that they would moving forward when there's only 2 movies. So either way, there's a lot to be said, but we can combine the points in just a second, because the last story I want to talk about that I haven't talked to the guys about at all is Aquaman, because it's kind of in the same boat. We've seen trailers. Trailers have come out for it. I haven't gotten your thoughts, either one of you guys, on the trailer itself. So, Winston, let me start with you. Tell me what you thought of the trailers itself, and based off of that and other things, how do you think the movie will do? Is it in the same boat as the Marvels? What say you?
So here's the thing. If I'm just going based off of the trailer, that movie looks fire. Like I'll watch the hell out of that movie. And it's not even because I'm out here being like, man, they're gonna take it to a whole new level. Nothing like that. It's just off the charisma of Jason Momoa, and you're just giving me an epic, and knowing the part of me that was able to just jack into Aquaman, which I go back and watch now. That movie's mid as hell. But there was something about it that just made it fun, and I genuinely think it's Momoa. I think he just has this weird charisma that that's just seeing that trailer. I was actually excited about it. I was probably as excited about it as I was for Across the Spider-Verse and Blue Beetle, which we didn't talk about that either. I enjoy. I thought that was well done as well. But we've talked about the reasons why it's only doing.
But that movie probably also very similar to the Marvels because of the 4 reshoots, which I always say 1 or 2 reshoots normal, 4 not normal. Right. That's probably going to be pushing it into the 250, 260. Probably needs to make the same amount of money as the Marvels. Yeah. Does it do it? Because the first one made $1 billion. Does it do it?
I don't think any of the movies that hit $1 billion will do that again.
Does it make a profit?
Doesn't make a profit. What are you saying Aquaman's probably tapping out at?
It probably needs to make at least 600 to make a profit, I would guess. If all the rumors are true with how much.
Nah, no. I think you're gonna see Flash all over again.
Okay, so
I don't think that bad.
Flash was
I don't think that bad, but I think pretty close.
Okay.
I think that.
First of all, what you think of the trailer?
First of all, from the trailer, I had a lot of very positive emotions during it. I think we're getting the trench stories that I think you and I are really excited about with Yaya. I think seeing Black Manta actually fully formed fighting Aquaman for the first time is going to be great to scale. I think the buddy cop aspect. I think it looks like a really fun adventure movie, like those '80s adventure, like Romancing the Stone, like that kind of flavor. I want more of, and I really liked that. But
I didn't mean to derail your thought. You just made me realize something because they did the buddy cop thing. Now I'm scared that this is Dark World because that was exactly what they did with Loki. They're like, okay, pull him out of prison, go help your brother solve this problem. Now I'm concerned. Do you not put that? I didn't put two and two together.
The plot of it's a god on Earth as a buddy cop teaming up with his brother that is now evil to fight the villain that didn't get served in the first one. As we do a different change and shift in tone, that's going to be a romp that ends a universe. Yeah, no, they made this movie.
Yeah, go ahead, keep going.
I had a great time watching after I killed Winston. I had a great time watching. Yeah, no, I love that I got to see that in real time. I saw the light leave your eyes. I got to actually watch you have that.
You get to watch it. You took it from.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. You're like, oh, that one epiphany. I'm like, no, there's some more. There's some more in there.
Ahead,
but
finish.
Also, it's lacking its female lead from the first movie because of anyway.
What do you mean? When she punched
that one
punch,
shot? Dude, I guarantee
one punch.
That's her new name. That's one punch. I guarantee that was for SEO. I guarantee.
And you can use that for a lot of different things.
That is literally a 1,000 comment frame where they can be like, oh, all the people are going to be talking about this in the comments. That was an SEO frame. They were like, we got people to yell about Amber Heard. Anyway, watching the trailer, joy, happiness. The second the trailer ended, I was like, wait, I feel like I've already seen that trailer. And I hadn't. Like, it was the debut. Right. I couldn't have possibly. And I was like, oh, it was so familiar to the first one. Now my concern is the reshoots were to make it more like the first or to make it like feel that reminiscent because of the bad word of mouth. So now I'm afraid that it's a movie that's not only studio interference, but it's also overly fan structured where people are like, these are my notes. And then the movie's just going to feel like a mess.
So I did a trailer reaction to this thing and I thought it looked so generic. I thought it looked, like you said, I feel like I've seen it a million times over. Out of all the movies I've seen recently, someone's like, oh, you've seen movies underwater, the movies underwater a lot? I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the tone and the familiar story beats that I've seen a million times over. And you mentioned Momoa. He's a movie star. But they're resting on the laurels of the surfer bro guy. He's the, oh, cool. And I know, that's Aquaman. No, that's Fast X. That's any movie he's been in that's not Game of Thrones or anything else too. That's what he does, and he's a good actor, but they're resting on cool guy, surfer guy. And it's like, I love James Wan. I love James Wan. I hope this movie, and I said it in my trailer reaction, dude, I hope that this movie is awesome. I hope it's great. I'm looking forward to it, like really, really looking forward to it because I want it to do well.
Yeah, same.
And DC needs a win. But nothing inside of that trailer made me go, oh, well, that looks different. That looks new. It looked like the same thing I've seen a million times.
You know what they needed to do? And I'm realizing that the reason why the first Aquaman, I feel like, did $1 billion, other than obviously Jason Momoa providing something, it was essentially if you wanted to marry a superhero film to The Mummy. If they realized that enough in this film to try and make it a Mummy Returns and just make sure you don't end up with The Rock looking like just
like a 90s feel, you mean?
Well, just the what did it was the adventure element. It wasn't so much the superhero element. Yes, that's there, and yes, that's important. It was that action adventure, like Rick O'Connell going up against ridiculous odds. If you can do that again with this and make this feel like Mummy Returns, then you have a shot.
I don't know if you have a shot at $1 billion.
Not at $1 billion, but at least making your money that you need to make your six.
What's also going to be messy is back-to-back November $1 billion sequel, December $1 billion sequel. Every single person that's been saying comic book fatigue is going to be like, oh, the first one made $1 billion, the first one made $1 billion, now this one made $200 million, then this one made $300 million. It's going to be like a deluge. And that's another reason I think that this strike has to end even more aggressively for the studios is they've got to bolster, they've got to hemorrhage whatever they can.
Yeah, look, the IP is real, man. Like when it comes to, like we were talking about Deadpool, right? I think that Deadpool has enough for people really like the character, want to see more movies. Doesn't matter if it's connected to the MCU or not. People want to see it. The casual viewer wants to see it regardless. So I think that movie's in really good shape. Add Hugh Jackman, add this other stuff. It does really well. I go back to that conversation I had in June with my uncle, my cousin, and my friend James. James is in my age bracket. My uncle is like 10, 15 years older. My cousin is like 22. My cousin's tapped in, knows all the way that we do and everything too. And I asked all three of them why they didn't see The Flash. My cousin said, didn't really have much to do with the Ezra stuff. Didn't help, but didn't have much to do with it. It was more so like what's it connected to? I don't know the DCU side of it. What's real? Who's staying? Who's not? I'll wait until it hits streaming. That's what he told me. So he was tapped into it. My uncle and my friend James had the same exact reason. just over the superhero thing right now. It's like unless there's something that's really and these are people who saw all of it when it was coming out, like the Marvel stuff, because it's like I just don't know. It just seems like the same old, same old.
Yeah.
And this is the casual fan. If the casual fan feels that way,
you've lost them. You're in massive
trouble. So, guys, we did it. We did a full episode of Capes and Cowls. The gentlemen are back, and I'm excited to have them back. And they're going to tell you now where you can find them on these days.
You can hunt me down on TikTok and YouTube and Twitter and Instagram. I'm really trying to get people to read comic books still. As I left, I was doing the same. But there's a lot of really good comics out, and there's a bunch of comic book news that I'll be sharing over there. And if you're at New York Comic Con, I will be there all 4 days, so hunt me down.
Yeah, you can find me on the socials, man, on all the platforms at the Swaggy Blurred. Man, I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm doing Law and Order Sports Victims Unit. Those are a lot of fun, man. I pretty much just watch it. I don't know how to describe it. Just go watch it. And then I'm doing my Breakfast AM news stuff, bringing that back. When you start to get to the physical therapy part of stuff, content can take a back seat because you're like, I can walk. I'm going to go outside.
Well, the good news, though, the content will keep happening because now you're back.
Hey.
Winston's back, Coy's back, and we're back. So listen, one of the things also what I've been doing, especially for this episode, I'm sure there'll be a lot of shorts that come out of here. If you want to check this YouTube channel on our shorts tab, you can see all the shorts that we do. My Instagram, the Big Thing Instagram, the Big Thing Twitter, like all that. We post tons of clips, and I'll make sure that I tag the guys as far as collaborators on Instagram as well for any of these clips that come out. So happy to have them back. So happy to have you guys back. Make sure that if you're able to, please check out one of our wonderful sponsors today. The links are in the description. That helps get these guys back. So make sure that you purchase one of those today if you have the means to do so. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, man. We're getting close to 100,000. So join us. Thank us. Well, thank us. We thank you for joining us here today. Appreciate it. We'll see you on the flip side. Bye.